Let's dive right into this explainer and look at a pretty fascinating career opportunity we pulled from our source material. We're talking about an opening at ISGEC Heavy Engineering Ltd. Now, if you know the industry, you know this is a massive operation. They design the literal heavy equipment that keeps global industries running. We're zeroing in on a role in their proposal and estimation department. It's a spot where your precise calculations and, well, strategic insights directly translate into massive project wins for the whole company.
The source material actually poses this implicit question right out of the gate. Are you ready to engineer multi-million-dollar project wins? Because this isn't just about sitting there crunching numbers on a spreadsheet, right? This is about taking on massive responsibility. It's about looking at these incredibly complex, towering industrial requirements and figuring out exactly how to build them efficiently, competitively, and obviously profitably. If you're the type who actually thrives on analyzing that kind of pressure and scale, you'll definitely want to stick around for this. Okay. Looking at the specific openings, they're actually targeting two distinct experience levels here. First up, there's the engineer or senior engineer role, and that's for professionals with roughly 4 to 10 years of experience under their belt. Then, stepping up in seniority, there's an assistant manager or deputy manager role, which requires about 8 to 12 years of experience. Keep in mind, your exact final designation really depends on your total experience, your specific technical expertise, and how well you actually perform in the interview. So there's definitely room for placement based on what you actually bring to the table.
To really get a sense of the scale of what you'd be estimating here, just consider the sheer breadth of the industries involved. We are talking power, oil and gas, sugar, steel, cement, chemicals, and absolutely massive infrastructure projects. You'd be dealing with the intricate costing for colossal industrial equipment. I'm talking giant industrial boilers, high-capacity pressure vessels, heavy process equipment, the whole shebang. The breadth of engineering knowledge required here is actually staggering, mostly because every single one of those industries has its own incredibly strict codes and unique demands.
As for where all this calculation and strategy actually takes place, the selected candidates are going to be based right out of ISGEC's office in Noida, Uttar Pradesh. That's essentially the base of operations, the nerve center, really, where the team comes together to put these massive project bids together.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the core mission outline for this department. The source explicitly states they play a vital role in winning projects. These estimators are literally the tip of the spear. Long before a single piece of steel is ever cut, they're the ones preparing the technical and commercial proposals that actually determine if the project is awarded to ISGG in the first place. They're directly supporting the sales and business development teams to make sure these bids are as competitive and as accurate as humanly possible.
Let's just walk through the chronological life cycle of a typical project bid to kind of demystify exactly what a day in this role looks like. Step 1. Reviewing the customer inquiry. That means diving deep into the RFQ, the request for quotation. You're figuring out the customer's exact requirements, parsing technical specs, and clearly identifying the project scope. Step 2. Estimating the costs, which requires just an incredible level of precision. And finally, Step 3. Preparing the actual quotations and drafting the complete techno-commercial proposal. This structured flow is basically how the department operates day in and day out.
But, and this is crucial, you do not do this alone. This is not some quiet desk job done in total isolation. To build an accurate estimate, you literally have to pull critical data from everywhere. You're constantly collaborating with design engineering, manufacturing, procurement, sales, finance, project management, and even external vendors. Having strong communication and teamwork skills is absolutely essential here because you're essentially functioning as the hub of the wheel, coordinating all these complex moving parts.
The real foundation of all this collaboration, and honestly the bedrock of your bid, starts with the raw materials. Raw material costing is the process of estimating precise prices for heavy industrial materials. And look, material price analysis is a huge part of the job, because in heavy engineering, materials make up a massive, massive chunk of the total project budget. If those initial material estimates are even slightly off, well, the entire bid is totally compromised. You'll be analyzing global market prices for immense, heavy components. We're talking steel, heavy plates, industrial pipes, specialized tubes, forgings, complex castings. You really have to sort of feel the massive physical weight of these materials to make the scale of the fabrication process tangible in your mind. You aren't pricing out lightweight, tiny components. You are dealing with literal tons of industrial-grade metal. So understanding these global commodity markets inside and out, that's an absolute necessity.
Then once you've figured out the material, you have to understand the cost of actually building the thing. This takes a really deep understanding of shop floor realities. Everything from welding and specialized machining to calculating total fabrication hours and complex assembly sequences. A great estimator has to understand shop floor processes perfectly and know exactly how to accurately calculate manufacturing overheads. It's really about looking at a raw engineering drawing and knowing exactly how many man-hours it's going to take to physically build it on the floor. All of those different components eventually roll up into one of your absolute core responsibilities, calculating the total project cost. It's the material and manufacturing stuff we just talked about, plus labor and engineering costs. But it totally doesn't stop there. You also have to factor in the logistics of moving this massive equipment, the site installation if that applies, rigorous testing and inspection protocols, and of course contingency costs to protect the company's margins. It is like a giant puzzle, and every single piece has to fit perfectly.
Ultimately, the final techno-commercial proposal gets split into two distinct, highly specialized halves. On the technical side, you're detailing product specifications, design details, the exact scope of supply, and proving strict compliance with all the customer's requirements. Then, on the commercial side, you're managing the business metrics. That's the pricing, rigid delivery schedules, payment terms, warranties, taxes, all those commercial conditions. Success in this role really means being totally fluent in both the language of engineering and the language of business.
But wait, what actually happens after you pop the champagne and win the bid? Well, the job isn't quite over. With post-order estimation, your role shifts to supporting the actual project execution. You'll be reviewing the project scope as it actually unfolds in real life, strictly comparing your estimated costs against the actual costs incurred, updating budgets, and keeping a very close eye on any cost variations. You effectively become the guardian of the project's financial health, right from that initial bid all the way through to execution.
So who exactly is the ideal candidate for this? The posting is looking for a very specific, highly sought-after skill set. The ideal background is strongly rooted in mechanical or heavy engineering, specifically with EPC project experience, engineering, procurement, and construction. Having hands-on knowledge of boilers, pressure vessels, process equipment, and industrial manufacturing is highlighted as a massive plus. Ultimately, they are looking for folks with a proven track record in cost estimation, proposal engineering, project costing, and tendering.
If you've been nodding along to this explainer, and you actually recognize these skills in yourself, the source provides direct instructions for how to apply. You can fire off your resume directly to prakash.chandra@isgec.com. That is the direct line provided in the document for stepping into this absolutely vital role. We've covered the sheer, immense scale of the equipment and the deep complexity of these techno-commercial bids, all the way from pricing out raw materials to tracking the final installation. It's clearly a role that demands both engineering brilliance and really sharp business acumen. So the big question the source material leaves us with is this: who out there has the exact expertise to engineer ISGEC's next major victory? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will catch you next time.